Welcome to our channel Lightning Vision. We are very happy to have you with us for the next minutes. So welcome, Mother. Today you will talk to us about the coronavirus because you have received a few requests about it. So people would like to have your opinion on this virus who's control our lives. So it's really creating a lot of fear, and people are confined, and it's different in different places in the world. So we would really love to have your input on this virus.
Thank you very much. Yes, there have been some questions about it, and in the beginning I was hesitating because I said, well, the kind of answers I give are not really sensational, and around the coronavirus there is a lot going on, and I did not want to add to it, even though it is in a more profound sense. I had the feeling that my place was not in it in the beginning. Now some people insisted, and I saw the reason finally, because in all the rumors that are going around, the good and the bad, there's a lot of lack of clarity in my eyes. And I said, well, perhaps for those who want to see things in a different way, I might give a contribution that is useful. That's why I accepted it. What I can say about it is that to understand what's going on, you have to detach the message behind that kind of phenomena, behind what's going on in a concrete way, in reality. You have to detach the message from the outer appearances. And then you will, and at the same time, you need somehow the outer appearances to be able to find out what's going on behind. That's a bit complicated situation. Now, if you look at what's happening in a concrete way, you will see a double movement at the beginning of when the difficulties arose. You see that quite quickly several countries were touched by this phenomena, and countries that were far away from each other. So the difficulty spread almost from the beginning over the globe, showed itself in a global way. A few countries in the beginning, but far away from each other, and we had the feeling immediately this has to do with the earth, and it's not just one country or one or two, and the others are not touched by it. And then you saw, so it was in a widespread, from the beginning, in a widespread way, and then immediately there was an opposite tendency that came up, that is to close the borders. So you see a movement that had, around the coronavirus, you see a movement that has a big expansion, because more and more countries in several weeks were touched. And each of them closed their borders for influences from other countries. And that was a very strange phenomenon. That had not happened until now, up to that extent. Suddenly, an epidemic phenomena touched a big part of the earth, 2/3 or 3/4 in a small amount of time. And each of those countries that were touched closed the borders for the rest. This was for me intriguing, because I said, if it touches us all, we should keep the borders open and try to solve the problem together. But that was not at all what happened. Not at all. So a phenomena that touched in a small amount of time a big part of the world had an influence that was the contrary. We close the borders and we try to arrange our domestic affairs ourselves in our own country. So suddenly this tendency of seeing life bigger as your own country and seeing it as a problem not a problem, as something that was touching the whole of the earth, the world, which had been going on for several years, at least for 10 years, 15 years. We are more and more in the idea of living together on this planet in many kind of ways. Suddenly it was completely vanished. It didn't exist anymore. Everybody was saving his own skin, his own country, his own people. And that went up to the extent that even information suddenly about other countries, it was very difficult to get. The media were almost not talking about other countries, only about their own country and a little bit certain countries with which they had a strong connection because of the language or for other reasons, but they were not connected, not in a visible way through media, together and then trying to solve it together, at least not in a visible way. The only thing I saw, little by little, over the weeks, is that the heads of the different countries apparently connected to each other to give the orders what to do or what not to do. We are going to confine altogether, and now we have to deconfine. Or take care, you should apply this medicine and not this medicine. The only connection I saw in between all those countries were connections that were like orders in the army. The general has said this, and now it's a command that's coming from out of the army, from a higher source. Nobody knows where it comes from. And then it's distributed out of the most influent countries, the presidents of the most important countries. They seemed to tell each other what would be best. And you feel that the information they gave was not from themselves. They were not exchanging ideas, but they were commands that come from, as I already said, from some other source, and they were telling what we should best do. Of course, there were some presidents that did not play the game, but there were not many. And that's what I thought is a very strange phenomenon. And that brought me to the idea, yes, but what's going on behind all this? Because suddenly we were facing the difficulty that something we already knew before, somehow, in many countries. That's to say, for the last 10, 15 years, on the political level, you saw more and more that people who were voting for certain candidates never saw, even when there was a majority, those people did not end up in the chair of the president. So people were, for the last 10, 15 years, losing the contact with the idea we have a democracy, and in fact, it never happens what we voted for, or something happens that we don't understand it on the political level. And now you suddenly see this phenomena also around the coronavirus. Orders or commands are coming up. We don't know, out of the blue. The president is saying this or that. You don't have the feeling, as I already said, that this is something that has been decided in the country by the government. No. It drops like that. And he says you have to do this or that. And that phenomena for me means that the coronavirus is used, I would say, by forces in this universe that try to bring the whole of humanity under their command. And they're using our fear for death and sickness. So what's happening is that a certain kind of forces are trying to bring us to obey out of fear to their vision of this world. But that is the kind of vision where the human being as an individual has no existence anymore. He's just kept under control. And many of us will probably accept this because they are afraid of dying, they are afraid of sickness. There are many things they are afraid of in this world. They have their insurances, I've already said it a lot. They have their work, they don't want to. I would say they have no faith anymore in anything that transcends man. But you can't blame them for it. That's the environment from a psychological point of view that they have been living in for a long time, for years. I think that it's not the coronavirus that's to blame, it's humanity that's to blame. We all accept it, that this world has no God anymore, and one day we'll see who are the gods. Then you probably will have a microchip in your arm. That's the choice I think we have. Will all of us accept that? I don't know. I will try to deepen that out in the next video.
Thank you, Mother. Wow. So share this video, please, with your friends and family. Subscribe to our channel, and we will see you very soon for part 2 of Mother's expose on the coronavirus. So have a good day.
A message coming out of space reaches humanity. It travels through the air and on its way reveals our destiny. How can we resist this force that has the universe and all that lives in its hand? A message coming out of space changes reality. The sun will rise and the day will break, and there'll be light shining. Its rays will sweep our past away to show us new guidelines. The sun will rise and the day will break, and there'll be light shining. The old times will be yesterday. All clouds have bright linings. You live it when you open up for newborn energy. It leads you out of time-bound consciousness into infinity. Don't be afraid to lose yourself and let go of your habits older than the hills. You live it when you open up for a new reality. The sun will rise and the day will break, and there'll be light shining. Its rays will sweep our past away to show us new guidelines. The sun will rise and the day will break, and there'll be light shining. The old times will be yesterday. All clouds have bright linings. sun